Hello, I'm Rev Brad, and you're listening to the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline. During the month of August, we're going to be looking at some chaplain myths that are out there. These are comments, anecdotes, and myths that myself and other Soccer Chaplains United chaplains have competed up against from time to time, and I want to take a moment to address them. If you're a chaplain in sport or in soccer, or you've got an interest, this next series of pods might be just for you. And if you're in neither of those camps, well, you might be interested anyway to learn sometimes what a chaplain in sport, and especially in the sport of soccer, might be up against as we work and serve the people in the beautiful game. Well, we get the ball rolling right after this.
He's found the space, and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick, the second in his career, the third of the night, the hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner, goes towards the near post, and you're the angle, and what a goal! What a goal!
Chaplain myth number 1, numero uno. Here it is. The best soccer chaplains have played the game at a high level. Now, there are a ton of variations to this myth, and you could probably say that this is a myth for any chaplain in any sport combination. I feel like I've heard nearly every iteration of it for soccer. I've heard people say, the best soccer chaplains are the athletic ones. The best soccer chaplains are the ones who know how to kick a ball. They at least played D1, or they were in the academy. They can juggle the ball 50 times. They played professionally, and so on and so forth. I've heard many times this kind of myth come out from people's mouths. I can't tell you how many times, in fact, it's been said to me, actually said to me, not asked, mind you, when they hear that I'm a chaplain to the Colorado Rapids of Major League Soccer. Oh, you must have played. Or sometimes people ask, do you ever kick around with the guys? Yeah, like I did that in college or in my professional days. I've detailed the height of my soccer playing pedigree in previous podcasts, but the truth is that myself and a very few number of Soccer Chaplains United chaplains ever played past high school. I really should go and try to find some numbers to this, but I'd wager that at least less than 10% of chaplains in men's professional soccer in the U.S. have themselves played professionally. I think we've got across the various leagues and across the different ministry groups, there's probably 70 plus chaplains or so that I know to some degree or another. And only 4 or 5 of those ever reached the pro levels of the game. And you might even say that some of those folks only spent a year or two, a scant amount of time at the highest levels. And depending on your criteria, you might even say, no, that's more semi-pro than professional. I don't get into all that. But needless to say, it's a really low number. And it's certainly not at all some requirement to becoming or being an excellent soccer chaplain. In fact, I'd probably say it kind of works against a person to a certain degree. I recall, let me relay it back into my own experience. In my own time going back to the Colorado Rapids, the team that I serve, I previously had been the PR director. And in the year that I transitioned, I went away from the team. I think I left in May, June, and then I went to seminary. I started seminary in September. And if not for a massive amount of trade and upheaval, I don't know that many of the people at the club, as I started to serve as a volunteer chaplain in 2002, especially the athletes, I don't know many would have been able to receive me as a chaplain. I think that they might have looked at me and wondered, what's that guy? Isn't that guy the PR guy? Isn't he the one that takes our stories outside to the media, to the world, and kind of tells it to everybody to kind of grow the game and grow the brand and the profile of the team? So I think even God was gracious in a sense that coming back to the club, I wasn't who I formerly was, or the people that had experienced me in that way didn't experience me necessarily as that direct chaplain. I think a soccer chaplain who's previously played and played at a high level might be looked on as someone who's, that guy's dream washed up. They washed out of the game. They're just trying to get back and be part of the team again. Some who were once professionals may not have had the training or the education to serve in a pastoral role. I also think, too, honestly, the disparity in pay, I imagine especially these days, is likely to make a former pro becoming a chaplain in soccer highly unlikely. Now, while being a former pro soccer player or even a former collegiate player at a high level is a myth for being a good soccer chaplain, let me say a few things in the positive about what I do think is helpful. One, I think it's helpful to know something about the sport or being willing to learn. I've watched countless games over 25 plus years, and I probably know more than I'm willing to say or let on. What's the adage? Better remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. So I don't really pipe up a lot when it comes to talking tactics or other things about the game. I make it a point instead to ask people around me about the game. If I'm standing with coaching or scouts or others during a match, I might say, hey, why did this guy make the run over there? Or what's the advantage of our formation right now or the disadvantage? I'm 25 plus years in, like I said, and I'm still trying to learn the game. Secondly, I think it's helpful to have interests and hobbies and skills outside of the game. Even a chaplain once was a former professional player. It's highly unlikely these days that that person's going to help a current athlete move the needle in terms of any aspect of their game. I think it's better to share and show them things that make life more holistic or show or introduce them to things outside the game so that they can get their minds off things. They can look into different things with interest and intrigue. Thirdly, I believe it's much more important to be highly skilled at being a pastor than being able to kick or juggle a ball with the team. Can you listen well? Are you versed in Scripture? Can you help someone with spiritual direction and coaching and mentoring around the larger issues of life? Do you understand the dynamics of faith and culture and religion, even different religions than your own? I would rather a chaplain be trained well in these areas than being able to strike a ball into the upper 90 of the net. Finally, I'll say it's helpful to have some EQ around being around a team. Around a locker room, there is a certain culture. There's a particular decorum at times. And sometimes as a chaplain, you just have to learn and adapt to these things on the fly. Sometimes you learn these things through observation. I think it is helpful if you have experience playing a team sport or being in a locker room setting in terms of watching out for some of these things and adding them to your own tool belt. For example, I know it's super important to greet everyone in the room when you walk in. Make eye contact, shake hands, fist bumps. It all goes a long way to being seen and accepted as another member of the team. Well, that about sums it up for this week and this myth. Perhaps you have an interest in being a soccer chaplain someday. I encourage you, check out soccerchaplainsunited.org. Maybe you've been thinking to yourself, or you've been told, the best soccer or sports chaplains, they've played the game at a high level. I can tell you that's absolute nonsense, and if it were true, I wouldn't be serving the team I serve today, and I need to go look for a different job. Well, bye for now. This has been Rev Brad coming to you from the Touchline.